Hello and welcome to. Tonight, we begin not with noise or chaos, but with silence. Imagine the sky above you on a clear night, free from city lights, stretching endlessly in all directions. It feels almost eternal, dark, quiet, and calm. And yet, scattered across this stillness are the stars, tiny sparks shimmering in the velvet fabric of space. To our eyes they seem fixed, like jewels pinned in place. But each one is alive, restless in its own secret way, living a life so long, so mysterious that we can barely comprehend it. Before we start, I'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from right now? And what time is it there? Drop it in the comments. It's always amazing to see how far these stories travel, and how many different nights and mornings we share together. So, dim the lights, let your breathing slow and get comfortable. The story begins. The stars don't shout, they don't pound drums or flash neon signs to announce their presence. Instead they whisper, sending their light to us across impossible distances. That light is old, sometimes millions of years old, carrying stories from the deep past. When you look up, you're not seeing the stars as they are now, but as they once were, long ago. It's as if the universe is showing us its memory book, page by glowing page. And so, we find ourselves at the beginning of our journey, the secret lives of stars. They're born, they grow, they change, and in time, they die. Though even their deaths create new beginnings. In this first chapter, we won't rush to their violent endings or dazzling transformations. Instead, we'll linger here in the quietness of the night sky and simply ask, what is a star really? From Earth, a star looks like a point of light, maybe twinkling if the air above us is shifting. But in truth, a star is a vast sphere of burning plasma, bigger and more powerful than our imaginations want to allow. The smallest star you see at night could be hundreds of times larger than Earth. The brightest, though perhaps faint to your eye, might be shining with the energy of millions of suns, and each one is a world unto itself with its own personality, its own rhythm, its own fate. Think for a moment about how differently stars live compared to us. Our lives, measured in decades, might seem long when we're young, but in the life of a star we barely exist at all. Stars measure time in millions and billions of years. To them, our entire history, every empire, every invention, every story we've ever told, is nothing more than a flicker. When we speak of star life, we must learn to slow down, to think in terms of ages rather than moments. And yet, even though they live on such impossible scales, stars are not immortal. They too are born. They too must struggle to survive, and they too must face the reality of endings. Their story, though grander than ours, still mirrors our own in its rhythm of beginning, flourishing, and fading away. But here is the most astonishing secret. Stars don't just exist for themselves. They are the universe's factories, its great alchemists. Within their fiery cores, stars take the simplest ingredients, hydrogen, the most basic element, and forge it into heavier ones step by step. Helium, carbon, oxygen, iron. These are the building blocks of everything you and I know. Every atom in your body, every cell in your lungs, every particle of iron in your blood was once born inside a star. You are stardust, as the poets and scientists alike remind us. And when you look up, you are, in a way, looking into your own ancient ancestry. Still, we're moving too quickly. Let's take a breath. Imagine yourself lying beneath that clear night sky. The stars above are patient. They've waited billions of years. They won't mind if we slow down. Feel your shoulders sink into the ground, your breathing even out. Allow the darkness to feel less like emptiness and more like a warm blanket. The stars above you are steady, constant and calm. Now, let's look again. They sparkle. Yes, but why? That twinkling, that shimmer, isn't their doing at all. It's the atmosphere above us, bending their light like ripples in a pond that disturb the reflection of the moon. If you could stand in space, free from air, the stars would shine steadily, unblinking like lanterns hanging in the void. And this steadiness tells us something profound. Stars are not fragile candles about to flicker out. They are steady engines of light, burning with consistency, some for longer than all of human history combined. The word star itself carries weight. In our language, it means more than an object in the sky. We call people stars when they shine, when they inspire, when they stand out. Ancient cultures told stories about them, arranging them into constellations that mirrored myths, gods, animals, and heroes. To the Greeks, Orion was a hunter forever chasing across the heavens. To the Egyptians, the star Sirius announced the flooding of the Nile and the coming of harvest. To sailors across centuries, stars were maps, guiding them safely across oceans. In every human story, stars are more than just light. They are symbols of guidance, of fate, of eternity. But here's the quieter truth. Beyond our myths and meanings, stars are simply themselves. Hot plasma, gravity, fusion. And that simplicity, in its own way, is beautiful. Because out of that simplicity comes everything else. Planets, life, even the moment you're experiencing right now, listening to the story of their secret lives. And perhaps the greatest secret of all is this. Though they seem so far away, we carry them with us. Every breath you take, every movement of your body is a continuation of a star's work. Without them, there would be no Earth, no oceans, no forests, no us. They live in us, and we live because of them. As you drift deeper into this story, let your thoughts slow, like the turning of galaxies. Imagine yourself floating gently upward, past the roof of your home, past the treetops, past the thin blue layer of atmosphere, until you're looking at the stars directly, without distortion. They no longer twinkle. They glow with steady, calm light. Around you is silence. Ahead of you, the whole universe. This is where our journey begins. In the next chapter, we'll follow the trail of starlight back to its very first moment, not when a star burns brightly in the sky, but when it exists only as a cloud, a dream of what it might become. Stars, like us, begin in places of warmth and protection. They begin not with brilliance, but with softness. And so, to understand the secret lives of stars, we must start at the very beginning, in the womb of the universe itself, the nebula. Every star, no matter how bright it becomes, begins its story in darkness. To find the birthplace of stars, we must look not at the points of light scattered across the night sky, but at the shadows between them. At first glance, these dark patches may seem empty, like holes in the fabric of the universe. But they are not empty at all. They are nebulae, vast clouds of gas and dust stretching across light years, billowing softly like cosmic smoke. A nebula is both cradle and cocoon. To our eyes, it looks serene, like a watercolour painted across the sky. But within it, forces are stirring. The atoms floating in these immense clouds are the raw material for stars. Hydrogen, the simplest and most abundant element, drifts in invisible seas. Dust grains, small as smoke particles, clump together, and though these clouds are unimaginably large, some spanning hundreds of light years, their true power lies not in size, but in patience. Gravity is the artist here. Imagine it like an invisible hand, endlessly pulling, endlessly coaxing, slowly gathering scattered atoms into denser and denser knots. What seems still to us is, over millions of years, in constant motion. Like dew gathering on a blade of grass, tiny droplets of matter merge, pulled ever closer together. If you could watch a nebula in time-lapse sped up by millions of times, you'd see regions collapsing inward, dark knots becoming brighter cores, patches of shadow suddenly glowing as stars awaken. But in real time, the process is silent and slow, like a lullaby you can't quite hear but somehow feel. Some nebulae are famous, captured by telescopes in images so beautiful they almost look unreal. The Eagle Nebula, with its towering pillars of creation, where tendrils of dust stretch upward like fingers. The Orion Nebula, visible even to the naked eye, glowing faintly in the hunter's sword. The Horsehead Nebula, shaped just as its name suggests, standing dark against a backdrop of glowing gas. These are not just pretty pictures, they are snapshots of nurseries where new stars are taking their first breaths. Inside, the process is guided by balance. At first, the cloud resist collapse. Pressure pushes outward, keeping gravity at bay, but as matter gathers, the pull grows stronger. Slowly, regions called protostars form, dense hot clumps where hydrogen atoms are being squeezed closer and closer. The temperature rises, the pressure builds, and the star in waiting begins to glow faintly with the heat of compression. At this stage, a star is still hidden. The dust around it blocks visible light, keeping its secrets safe. But in infrared, a kind of light our eyes cannot see but our instruments can detect, we can watch these newborn stars glowing softly, like embers beneath ashes. They are not yet stars as we know them, but they are on their way. And here is something gentle to reflect on. Stars are not born alone. Like siblings, they emerge in groups, whole clusters forming within the same cloud. Some will remain close, bound together by gravity, orbiting each other for billions of years. Others will drift apart, flung into the galaxy to shine on their own. Even our own sun may once have had siblings, born in the same nursery, now scattered across the Milky Way, glowing in different corners of the sky. Somewhere out there, perhaps, a star just like our sun remembers our shared beginning. Though we may never know which one it is. Nebulae are also storytellers. The very material they use to form stars comes from earlier stars that lived and died long ago. When a massive star explodes in a supernova, it hurls its guts into space, filling the cosmos with heavy elements. These mix with hydrogen and dust, forming new clouds, which then give birth to new stars. It's a cycle: life, death, and rebirth, playing out on cosmic scales. Every nebula carries the memory of older stars within it, like a family heirloom passed down through generations. Imagine, then, lying back beneath the night sky and remembering this. The light of the stars above you began in clouds of dust and silence. Each one is a survivor of collapse, a triumph of gravity over emptiness. The glow you see tonight is the echo of a cloud that once folded in on itself, whispering a star into existence. But let's not rush our young star's journey. At this point, it is still in its infancy. A protostar, warm but not yet burning with fusion. It has not yet found its balance, not yet taken its first breath of fire. Around it, a disk of dust and gas spins slowly, some of which may one day form planets, moons, or comets. The star's light is faint, filtered, hidden. It is like a child in the womb, gathering strength for the moment it will emerge into the world. In a way, nebulae remind us of beginnings in our own lives. We too start in protective places, hidden and growing, shaped by forces we don't yet understand. Just as the star slowly gathers the strength to ignite, so too do we gather what we need before stepping into our own light. So, the next time you see a photograph of a nebula, glowing red, blue, purple, or green, remember that you're looking at more than a cloud. You're looking at a birthplace, a nursery for suns, a womb for galaxies, the beginning of a story that will unfold over billions of years. And when that moment of ignition finally comes, when the pressure and heat become too great, something extraordinary happens. Hydrogen atoms, after being pressed together for so long, suddenly begin to fuse. Light bursts forth, not just heat, but true starlight. The star has taken its first breath. That is where our story will go next. from the quiet, shadowed safety of the nebula to the moment a star first awakens, lighting its surroundings with fire that will not fade for eons. It is the first heartbeat of a new sun, and it marks the true beginning of the star's life. Inside the dark folds of a nebula, silence reigns. Dust hangs suspended, hydrogen atoms drift endlessly, and yet something constant and unseen is at work. Gravity, quiet and tireless, is always present. It has no voice, no colour, no form, and yet it is the shaper of all things. It draws the scattered fragments of the cloud closer, nudging, pulling, gathering the countless small pieces into something greater than themselves. It's easy to think of gravity as a force that only holds us down, anchoring us to the earth, tugging at our bodies, keeping us from drifting away. But here, in the cosmic nursery, gravity is not simply holding things in place. It is weaving. Slowly, invisibly, it draws atoms together, coaxing them into knots that grow denser and hotter. A faint glow begins to shimmer where once there was only shadow. This is how a star begins to take shape, not in a flash of drama, but in the patient persistence of a force that never rests. The cloud, once loose and unformed, becomes threaded with denser regions. Each knot tightens, each cluster collapses. The gas resists, pressing outward with heat and pressure, but gravity pulls back harder. The balance tips. What was once a drifting cloud is now a core, a seed of a star forming in the heart of the nebula. As matter gathers, heat follows. Atoms pressed closer together begin to move faster, colliding, rubbing, creating warmth. The protostar, still hidden within its dusty cocoon, glows in infrared, invisible to human eyes but radiant in the right instruments. Around it, a disk begins to swirl, leftover material that spins like water around a drain. In this quiet whirlpool lies the potential for planets, moons, and asteroids. The entire solar system to be waits, wrapped in a halo of dust. If we could drift closer, if we could hover at the edge of such a forming star, we would not hear sound. Space carries no air to move waves, but we would sense movement, the slow whirl of the disk, the faint pulsing of heat, the relentless tug of gravity. It would feel like standing near a great engine, one that has not yet started but already hums with the promise of power. The young protostar is restless. Its surface churns with activity, throwing out streams of particles, jets of plasma that cut through the surrounding cloud. These outbursts carve away the material around it, clearing a space where its light will eventually shine freely. For now, the star remains hidden, but its presence is undeniable. The darkness of the nebula is pierced by faint outlines, subtle arcs where light is beginning to seep through. Gravity continues its work, squeezing tighter, raising the temperature inside the protostar's heart. 10 million degrees, that is the threshold. At that temperature, hydrogen atoms can no longer resist the pull. They begin to merge, to fuse, to become something new. Fusion is the moment when gravity's patient gathering transforms into fire. The invisible hand that pulled atoms together now ignites them, turning compression into creation. When fusion begins, the balance shifts. Outward pressure from the energy of fusion pushes against gravity's inward pull. For the first time, there is equilibrium. The star has stabilized. It is no longer collapsing. It has taken its first true breath of light, and from this moment forward, it will shine. This process does not happen in isolation. All across the nebula, multiple stars are being born. Some are small, faint, destined to live long and quiet lives. Others are massive, burning so brightly they will exhaust themselves in only a few million years. Together they light the cloud from within, turning what was once a dark shadow into a glowing beacon. What began as silence now becomes radiance. A nursery transformed into a constellation of newborn suns. Gravity, in its quiet way, is the sculptor of the universe, Without it, the hydrogen of the cosmos would remain scattered, lifeless, drifting forever in the void. With it, those same atoms become stars, and from stars, everything else. Planets, oceans, forests, creatures, stories. All of it begins here, with gravity's patient hand pressing clouds into fire. In time, the nebula will be consumed. The dust will scatter, blown away by the radiation of its own children. The stars, no longer hidden, will shine openly in the night. Some will remain together as clusters, glittering in shared orbits for millions of years. Others will wander off into the galaxy alone. Each carries within it the story of its beginning, a quiet remembrance of the cloud and the gravity that shaped it. Now, with fusion alight and balance achieved, the star has truly entered its life. What follows is not a brief moment, but an age. Billions of years of steady burning, of light pouring into the universe. A star in its prime is calm, stable, and confident, shining with a rhythm so constant that to human eyes it seems eternal. It is in this long season of balance that most stars spend the majority of their existence. It is here that suns are born, planets gather, and the slow work of creating life begins. And so, from the quiet hand of gravity, the first true star emerges, glowing steadily, a lantern in the darkness of space. At the heart of the young star, deep beneath the swirling cocoon of dust, a threshold has been crossed. The temperature has climbed past 10 million degrees. The pressure has become unimaginable, and something entirely new begins to happen. The hydrogen atoms, those simple ancient building blocks, can no longer resist. They fuse together, two becoming one, releasing light and heat on a scale the universe has never seen before in this place. It is the first breath of fire, the true beginning of starlight. This moment is not loud. There is no explosion, no sudden detonation. Instead, it is steady, continuous, as if the star exhales and for the first time fills its surroundings with radiance. The outward push of fusion balances perfectly against the inward pull of gravity. The long collapse has ended. A new equilibrium has begun. The star has found its voice, and it will not be silenced for billions of years. From the outside, the change is profound. What was once hidden within dust and shadow now shines openly, pushing the nebula away with its light. The young star burns hot and clear, scattering the last traces of its birthplace, as if stepping out from behind a curtain. It has joined the cosmos not as a faint ember, but as a beacon. And yet, what seems like a single moment to us is, in truth, the work of millions of years. Stars do not hurry. Their breathing is slow, measured in aeons. The ignition of fusion is a threshold, but not a leap. It is a gradual shift, a star easing into its balance, until suddenly the light is steady, unwavering, undeniable. Now the star enters what astronomers call the main sequence, the long middle chapter of its life. Here it will remain for most of its existence, quietly fusing hydrogen into helium, glowing steadily across the darkness. It is in this phase that the star becomes what we think of when we look up at the night sky. Constant, reliable, unchanging to our brief human eyes. Consider the sun, our nearest star. For more than 4.5 billion years, it has burned in this way. Every sunrise, every shadow, every harvest, every breath of air, all of it powered by this silent, ceaseless fusion at its core. Without it, Earth would be frozen and lifeless, a barren stone drifting in space. With it, the oceans stir, the forests grow, and life continues its quiet work. This is the great paradox of starlight. To us, it feels eternal. We look up and see the same constellations our ancestors saw thousands of years ago. We give them names, tell their stories, chart our journeys by their light. They seem unchanging, timeless, and yet each one is burning, consuming itself, using up the fuel that makes its glow possible. Every star is mortal. Every star will one day change. But for now, they shine with such patience that we forget their fragility. The star's surface, though calm from afar, is alive with movement. Currents of plasma rise and fall, carrying heat from the core outward. Magnetic fields twist and snap, releasing bursts of energy into space. Streams of charged particles flow outward in solar winds, washing across the darkness, shaping the environments of nearby planets. What seems steady from our distance is, up close, a roiling ocean of fire endlessly in motion. Around the newborn star, its disk of dust and gas still lingers. The fusion within has lit the system, but the story of creation is not yet complete. The swirling matter begins to clump together, forming the seeds of planets. Tiny grains collide, stick, grow into pebbles, into rocks, into worlds. Some will become gas giants, vast and heavy, drawing in oceans of atmosphere. Others will remain small, rocky, fragile, spinning close to their sun. In time, some of these worlds may even cradle oceans, forests, and creatures who will look up and wonder at the light that sustains them. The first breath of fire is, then, not just the birth of a star, but the beginning of possibility. With the ignition of fusion comes everything else. The heat that drives planets into motion, the radiation that shapes atmospheres, the light that makes life possible. In this one moment, when hydrogen begins to fuse, the stage is set for all that will follow. Galaxies unfolding, worlds awakening, civilizations rising to look at the sky and whisper questions into the dark. From here, the star will endure. Its life is measured not in centuries but in billions of years. The balance between gravity and fusion is delicate, but it is also resilient. As long as there is hydrogen in its core, the star will shine, calm and constant, like a steady heartbeat. The nebula is gone, the collapse is finished, and the silence has been replaced by radiance. But even in this long season of stability, the seeds of change remain. Fusion is both creation and consumption. Every atom of hydrogen fused into helium is an atom lost, fuel used, a step taken toward the future. For now, the star is young and strong, but time is always at work, even here. One day, the balance will falter, the fire will change, and the star will move into the next stage of its life. That story, though, belongs to another chapter. For now, it is enough to imagine the young star glowing in the dark, fresh from its first breath of fire, steady and unwavering. Around it, dust swirls into shapes that will become planets. Beyond it, space stretches endlessly, filled with other stars, each at its own stage of life, each carrying its own secret story. The universe is alive with these countless suns, each one born from collapse, each one ignited by fusion, each one a lantern hung in the infinite night. Once the first breath of fire has settled into rhythm, a star enters the longest and quietest chapter of its existence. It has found its balance, gravity pulling inward, fusion pressing outward, and now it shines steadily, neither collapsing nor expanding. This is its calm childhood, a time of growth and stability, a season so long that entire galaxies can change while the star continues, unbothered, in its gentle glow. For the smallest stars, those called red dwarfs, this chapter stretches into almost unimaginable lengths of time. These stars sip their fuel slowly, burning hydrogen so carefully that they may last for trillions of years, far longer than the universe itself has existed so far. Their light is faint, their glow subdued, but their patience makes them the most enduring of all suns. To human eyes, a red dwarf is humble. You could live beneath its light and see a sky dimmer than the one we know, with a sun that never blazes as bright as ours. But this modesty is its strength, while brighter, hotter stars burn themselves out in a cosmic instant. The red dwarf persists, a quiet companion to the universe, flickering softly while ages pass. In contrast, larger stars live shorter, more dramatic childhoods. Blue giants, massive and blazing, pour out their energy recklessly. Their light is fierce, their heat immense, their presence undeniable. And yet in cosmic terms they are fragile. Their lives will last only millions of years, a heartbeat compared to the slow breathing of their smaller cousins. They are like children who grow too quickly, burning bright and fierce, but destined for an early end. Our sun rests comfortably between these extremes. It is not the faint red dwarf, nor the blazing blue giant. It is a middle star, steady, reliable and balanced. Its calm childhood has already stretched for billions of years and will continue for billions more. Every sunrise, every turning of the seasons, every memory of life on Earth has unfolded under this steady watch. The sun does not rush. It burns evenly, quietly, giving its warmth without fanfare, like a parent whose presence is so constant that it is almost invisible. From the outside, a star in this stage looks serene. To our eyes, it is a steady disk of light. But inside, the story is far more dynamic. The core is a furnace, endlessly fusing hydrogen into helium. The outer layers shift and swirl, carrying heat upward. On the surface, storms of plasma twist into loops, arcs of fire taller than Earth itself. Bursts of energy erupt and fade, solar winds stream outward, washing across the planets. What seems calm from afar is, up close, a restless ocean of flame. And yet, for all this motion, the star is stable. Its changes are measured not in moments, but in ages. Civilizations may rise and fall beneath its light, and the star will not falter. Mountains may crumble, oceans may form and vanish, and still the star continues, steady and patient, as if time itself bends around its rhythm. This long childhood is not only a time for the star, it is a time for the worlds around it. Planets form and settle into their orbits, moons are born, comets sweep through, scattering icy trails, and on some rare worlds conditions align so perfectly that oceans stir, air gathers, and life begins its quiet work. Every creature, every forest, every breath of life owes its chance to this long season of stellar calm. In these quiet ages, stars do more than shine, they nurture. Their light provides the energy for life to begin, the warmth for water to flow, the stability for entire ecosystems to grow and evolve. On Earth, the sun's patient glow has allowed life not just to appear, but to flourish, from single cells drifting in ancient seas to the countless forms of life that now walk, swim, and fly across the planet. Without this calm, steady burning, none of it would be possible. But stars are not immortal, even in this most stable of chapters. With each passing moment, hydrogen is consumed. Slowly, silently, the star transforms its fuel into helium, collecting it in its core. For now, the supply is vast, and the balance holds firm. But deep inside, the seeds of change are forming. The star does not know it, cannot feel it, but every second of shining brings it closer to the day when balance will falter and the calm childhood will end. Still, that ending is distant. For billions of years, the star will shine as though nothing will ever change. To us, this illusion of eternity is enough. We look up at the night sky and see constellations unshaken, stars unmoved, and we believe them fixed. Generations pass, myths are written, civilizations rise and fall, all beneath the same steady lights, and perhaps this is why we trust stars, why we give them roles as guides and symbols in our stories. They seem unchanging, as if they will outlast everything we know. The truth, however, is more delicate. Every moment of stability is built upon a quiet process of consumption. Every heartbeat of light is a step toward transformation. This is the paradox of the calm childhood. It is steady, but not eternal. It is patient, but not permanent. It is a pause between beginnings and endings, a balance held for as long as the fuel lasts. And so, the star continues, burning steadily, shining patiently, filling its system with light. For now, it is young and strong, its fire constant, its balance sure. The nebula has faded, the collapse is long past, and what remains is a sun at peace in its own glow. Around it, worlds move in quiet orbits, moons rise and fall, and the silence of space is broken only by the steady hum of starlight. Not all stars enjoy the quiet patience of a calm childhood. Some are born restless. They enter the universe with so much mass, so much energy, that they cannot help but burn furiously, recklessly, like young souls who live fast and leave too soon. These are the massive stars, the blue giants and supergiants whose lives blaze brighter than 1,000 suns, and yet pass in a fraction of the time. Where a modest star like our Sun will spend billions of years in peaceful balance, a giant star races through its youth in mere millions. To us, millions of years sounds long, a span beyond human comprehension. But to the cosmos, it is no more than a brief outburst, a fleeting spark. These fiery youths shine brilliantly, dominating their surroundings, shaping entire regions of space. And then, as quickly as they came, they are gone. Their appearance is unmistakable. Blue-white light, so fierce it sears through the darkness, flooding nearby nebulae with brilliance. They are hotter than most stars, their surfaces blazing at tens of thousands of degrees. Even from great distances they command attention, their radiance so intense that it overwhelms everything nearby. In the night sky, these stars are the ones that seem to glitter with unusual sharpness, outshining their neighbours as though declaring their presence boldly. But this brilliance comes at a price. Fusion in their cores roars at a furious pace. Hydrogen is consumed in great gulps rather than careful sips. The core burns hotter and hotter, pushing outward with ferocity. The balance with gravity still holds, but it is a violent equilibrium, a constant storm of energy straining to contain itself. These stars are not steady lanterns. They are roaring furnaces blazing with the intensity of youth. Surrounding them, the effects are dramatic. Their radiation sculpts the gas and dust nearby, pushing it away, creating vast glowing bubbles in space. Stellar winds, streams of charged particles, sweep outward at millions of kilometers per hour, stripping material from anything in their path. In their presence, weaker stars and fragile clouds are altered, reshaped by the force of their restless light. They are not gentle companions, they are cosmic storms reshaping their neighbourhoods by sheer force of will. And yet, for all their violence, there is a beauty in their youth. Nebulae glow with colours because of these massive stars, their radiation illuminating clouds like lanterns hidden in mist. Star clusters sparkle because of their presence, their brilliance giving form to constellations. Entire regions of galaxies shine brighter when such giants are born within them. Without these fiery youths, much of the universe would remain dim and hidden. But their lives, for all their grandeur, are fragile. The very pace of their burning ensures that their fuel will not last. While a red dwarf may quietly sip hydrogen for trillions of years, a blue giant consumes its store in only a few million. Imagine a candle that burns so fiercely it exhausts itself almost at once. That is the paradox of the fiery youth. Its brightness is its downfall. In their short lives, however, they play a role far greater than their span would suggest. Within their cores, heavier elements are forged at a furious rate. Not just helium, but carbon, oxygen and beyond are created in their fiery hearts. They become factories of complexity, producing the ingredients for planets, for oceans, for breath. And when their brief youth ends, they do not fade quietly. They explode, scattering their riches across the galaxy, seeding new clouds, new generations of stars, new chances for life. It is as though the fiery youth, knowing it cannot last, chooses instead to give everything it has, to blaze as brilliantly as possible, to create as much as possible, and then to return its gifts to the universe in a final spectacular gesture. Their short lives ripple outward, shaping the cosmos long after their light is gone. The contrast between these massive stars and their smaller cousins is striking. One lives quietly, patiently, in a glow that will last longer than time itself. The other burns hot, fast and bold, destined to vanish quickly, but to leave behind a legacy that endures. Both are part of the same story, two paths taken from the same beginning, and together they weave the fabric of the universe. Patience and brilliance, endurance and fire. If you were to drift near one of these giant stars, the experience would be overwhelming. The heat, even from a safe distance, would be immense. The light would be blinding, fierce enough to strip the colour from anything you carried. Space itself would shimmer with radiation, a sea of energy flowing outward without pause. To be near such a star is to be reminded of both the power and the fragility of existence. Beauty and danger, brilliance and brevity, all bound together in a single life. As the star continues through its youth, its core changes rapidly. Hydrogen burns away, helium takes its place, and heavier elements begin to form. The star grows unstable, swelling, shifting, pulsing with energy. Already the seeds of its dramatic fate are stirring. But for now it still burns, still blazes, still dominates its corner of the sky with a brilliance unmatched. And so, the fiery youth continues, brilliant, reckless, magnificent. A life lived at the edge of possibility, brief but unforgettable. Every star, no matter its size, survives by walking a tightrope. On one side is gravity, tireless and unrelenting, pulling inward with infinite patience. On the other is fusion, the fire at the core, pressing outward with equal force. Between these two, the star lives. The balance is delicate, yet it endures for millions, billions, even trillions of years. It is this equilibrium that makes the quiet glow of the night sky possible. Without gravity, there would be no stars at all. Clouds of gas would remain scattered, drifting endlessly, never collapsing into suns. Without fusion, gravity would win, and every star would collapse inward, crushed into darkness. Only when the two forces meet, equal but opposite, does the miracle occur. Stability. The star holds its shape. The star shines. To imagine this balance, think of a candle flame. Gravity is the air pressing down, always trying to smother it. Fusion is the fire, pushing upward, always trying to rise. As long as the two forces are equal, the flame burns steadily, casting light. If one side falters, the flame flickers, changes, or dies. A star's life is that same flame, scaled up to cosmic proportions. The outward push of fusion is born from the unimaginable heat. In the core, hydrogen atoms collide, merging into helium, releasing energy that surges outward through the star's layers. This energy becomes light, warmth, radiation, all of it rushing outward, desperate to escape. Gravity, however, does not relent. Every atom of the star's mass pulls at every other atom, squeezing inward with the same endless strength that once formed the star from a cloud. The result is an endless standoff, neither side ever allowed to win, at least not yet. On the surface, this balance creates serenity. To our eyes, the star is steady, unchanging. Its light arrives night after night, unbroken. The constellations hold their form, year after year, as if written permanently across the heavens. This illusion of eternity comes from the stability of the balancing act. The forces are so vast, so constant, that from our tiny perspective they appear timeless. Inside, however, the equilibrium is never still. The core is a restless cauldron, its reactions surging and colliding. The outer layers rise and fall like tides, carrying heat upward, releasing it as light. Solar winds stream outward, radiation pours across space, Particles dance in invisible storms. The balance is not frozen. It is dynamic, always shifting, always correcting itself. Gravity pulls, fusion resists, and together they maintain the delicate dance of starlight. The beauty of this act lies in its consequence. Because of it, stars can live long enough to nurture worlds. Without the balance, stars would collapse in an instant or explode in a flash, too brief to matter. But equilibrium gives them time to burn slowly, to shine steadily, to allow planets to form, to let life emerge. The balance is not only the secret of starlight, but the secret of life itself. Different stars perform this act in different ways. Small stars burn gently, with fusion barely pressing outward, gravity easily holding them in shape. Their balance is calm, patient, and enduring. Massive stars, by contrast, are like acrobats on a wire in a storm. Their fusion is violent, their gravity immense, their equilibrium precarious. They burn fiercely, their balance always straining, until eventually one side overwhelms the other. For them, the balancing act cannot last long. And yet, for as long as it endures, the star is constant. This is why stars became symbols of guidance to ancient eyes. Sailors charted their courses by them. Farmers marked the seasons by their rising and setting. Storytellers carved myths into their patterns, trusting them to outlast generations. The steadiness of stars gave humanity a sense of permanence in a world of change. But permanence is an illusion. Balance, by its nature, cannot last forever. Every second, hydrogen fuses into helium, fuel consumed, light released. Slowly, silently, the balance tilts. Gravity waits patiently, always pulling, always ready for the moment when fusion can no longer resist. One day, in the deep future, the equilibrium will falter and the star will change. It may swell into a giant or collapse into a husk or explode in brilliance. But for now, the act holds and the light continues. To stand beneath the night sky and see those countless points of light is to witness this act of balance repeated across the cosmos. Each star, no matter how faint or bright, is engaged in the same struggle. Gravity and fusion, pull and push, darkness and fire. Their harmony fills the universe with light, and their instability gives the universe its story. Think of it this way. Every heartbeat of starlight is a negotiation. Gravity whispers, "Come closer, fall inward." Fusion answers, "Not yet, I will shine." And between them, the star endures. Its glow travelling across the void to reach us, to touch our eyes, to remind us of forces too vast to imagine. The cosmic balancing act is the quiet secret behind everything we see at night. Without it, there would be no steady constellations, no warmth from the sun, no life on Earth. With it, there is light, there is time, there is the chance for stories like ours to exist at all. And so, the star continues its delicate walk, steady as it seems, fragile as it is. A lantern in the dark, balanced perfectly between collapse and explosion, between silence and fire. From Earth, most stars appear white or faintly yellow, like tiny pinpricks cut into the fabric of the night. But this is only the limit of our eyes. In truth, starlight comes in many colours: crimson, amber, sapphire, ice blue, each one carrying secrets about the star that shines. The colour of starlight is a code, a message written in light, revealing the star's temperature, its age, and even its fate. When you look up at the sky and see a star glowing red, you are not just seeing colour, you are witnessing coolness, at least by stellar standards. Red stars burn at lower temperatures, their surfaces still thousands of degrees hot but cooler than the blazing whites and blues. These are often smaller, older stars, glowing steadily in the deep crimson of endurance. Their light is soft, almost gentle, like embers smouldering long after the fire has begun. Then there are the yellow stars, like our sun. Balance between heat and longevity, their glow is steady, warm and life-giving. Their colour is not simply aesthetic, it tells us they are in their long middle years, burning hydrogen into helium at a patient pace. To creatures like us, living in the warmth of one, their light feels natural, as though the universe meant it this way. White stars burn hotter still, their surfaces searing at tens of thousands of degrees. Their light is intense, unfiltered, their glow sharp and piercing against the dark. These stars are younger and more vigorous, living quickly, burning bright. And then, at the far end of the spectrum, are the blue stars. Immense, massive and searingly hot. Their light is fierce, almost electric, radiating energy in a torrent. To see one is to witness a life burning at full speed, a star consuming itself in a furious rush toward its inevitable end. Blue stars are rare, but their brilliance makes them unforgettable, scattering their radiance across galaxies like sparks from a forge. The differences in colour are not just visible to the eye. When starlight is broken down, spread out into its spectrum, a rainbow emerges, bands of red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. And within that rainbow are tiny dark lines, fingerprints left behind by the elements within the star. Hydrogen, helium, calcium, sodium, each one leaves its mark. From these subtle lines, astronomers can read the star's chemistry, its age, even its motion through space. In the colours of starlight lies a library of knowledge, waiting to be decoded. The colours also tell of time. A star that begins blue, blazing with fury, will cool as it ages, shifting to white, then yellow, then red as it approaches its end. Others, like the red dwarfs, will glow red for nearly all their lives, never shifting, their patience etched into their steady hue. Each star, then, carries its biography in its colour, a story of heat and time painted across the spectrum. Even our ancestors without telescopes or spectroscopes noticed these colours. The star Betelgeuse, glowing orange-red in the shoulder of Orion. Rigel, his foot, shining blue-white. Antares, the heart of the Scorpion, burning deep red, rivaling Mars in hue. Sirius, the brightest star in our sky, dazzling in white-blue brilliance. For thousands of years, people gazed at these colours and wove them into myths, naming them after gods, heroes, and creatures, sensing without words that colour meant something profound. Beyond beauty, colour has power. The radiation of a hot blue star shapes its surroundings differently than the softer glow of a red dwarf. Blue stars flood space with ultraviolet light, stripping gases from nearby clouds, carving shapes in nebulae, stirring the chemistry of young planets. Red stars, cooler and dimmer, create gentler environments where planets orbit close, warmed only by their steady glow. The colour of a star defines the worlds that may form around it, and perhaps even the kinds of life that may emerge. If you stood on the surface of a planet orbiting a red dwarf, your sky would be tinted with an eternal twilight glow, a soft crimson hue painting your days. If your sun were blue, the light would be sharper, harsher, with shadows crisp and colours skewed toward brilliance. To live beneath a different star is to live beneath a different palette of the universe. Colours also hint at endings. A red giant swelling in its last breaths glows deep and ruddy, signalling that its hydrogen is gone and its life is shifting toward transformation. A white dwarf, the corpse of a star, shines pale and dim, its glow fading slowly into darkness. Colour is not just about temperature, it is about destiny. And so, when you gaze up at the night sky, remember that the stars are not all the same. Their hues whisper their secrets to you. That faint red star on the horizon, it is old, enduring, still glowing patiently. That blue spark shimmering higher, it is young, brilliant, and doomed to vanish quickly. The colours above you are the universe's way of telling its story in light. To us, the stars may seem eternal, motionless, identical. But in truth, each one is unique, each one carrying its own song of heat, colour, and time. The hidden colours of starlight are the threads in the great tapestry of the cosmos, weaving together the story of beginnings, lives, and inevitable ends. And if you close your eyes after looking at them, you might even carry the colours with you, lingering like after images on the canvas of your mind. They are the universe's brushstrokes, painted not on a canvas, but across the infinite dark. Though we often imagine stars as solitary wanderers, drifting alone across the dark, most are not truly alone. They are born together, grow together, and for a time, share their journeys as families of light. In the crowded nurseries of nebulae, stars are seldom singular children. They arrive in clusters, whole generations formed from the same cloud, siblings bound by birth and gravity. Some remain linked for their entire lives, orbiting one another in cosmic dances. Others drift apart slowly, their paths separating as the galaxy tugs at them, scattering them across its spiralling arms. Even then, they carry the memory of their shared beginnings, stars cut from the same cloth of gas and dust, glowing with the same elemental story. The most intimate of these stellar families are binaries, two stars born together, bound forever by gravity's embrace. They orbit one another in endless motion, a slow waltz across the dark. Sometimes the two are equals, matched in size and brightness, circling a shared centre of gravity. Other times, one dominates, its companion smaller, fainter, trailing behind like a shadow. And in certain cases, their closeness becomes something stranger. One star pulling matter from the other, feeding on its partner, reshaping both their fates. Beyond pairs there are triplets, quartets, whole groups of stars locked in complex orbits, each pulling at the others, weaving intricate dances of light. These multiple star systems remind us that stability is not always simplicity. Balance can be found in motion, in the endless adjustments of gravity as each star follows its path. Then there are the clusters, open clusters, loose gatherings of dozens or hundreds of stars, still young, still glowing with the brilliance of their birth. The Pleiades, for example, a small cluster visible even to the naked eye, shimmering like a handful of diamonds scattered across the black. These stars were born together, still huddled near their birthplace, their youth written in their shared glow. Globular clusters tell another story. Here, tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of stars gather into dense spheres, packed so tightly that in their cores, stars are separated by only a fraction of the distance that lies between our sun and its nearest neighbour. To stand within such a cluster would be to see skies ablaze with countless suns, a night never truly dark, a firmament so crowded with light that shadows could scarcely exist. These globular families are ancient, some nearly as old as the galaxy itself, survivors from the earliest times, carrying the memories of a younger universe in their dense gatherings. Our own sun, though now alone, was not solitary at its beginning. It too was likely born in a cluster surrounded by siblings of light. Over time, gravitational tides scattered them, pulling them away, carrying them into different regions of the Milky Way. Today, those siblings are strangers, scattered stars that no longer betray their kinship to the casual eye. Somewhere out there, though, shining faintly among billions, are stars that share our sun's birthplace, long-lost brothers and sisters whose light still travels through the same galaxy we call home. Even when separated, stars influence one another. Supernovae explode near their neighbours, seeding them with heavy elements. Stellar winds carve out cavities that reshape the paths of others. Gravity tugs at distant companions, altering their journeys. The family of stars is not a still portrait but a living album, each page connected, each image part of a greater whole. Galaxies themselves are families of families, vast cities of stars gathered together in spiralling arms or elliptical swarms. Each galaxy holds billions, sometimes trillions of suns, all bound by the invisible thread of gravity, all whirling around a common centre. To see a galaxy from afar is to see the grandest family album of all, a collection of light bound together by both origin and fate. There is something deeply human in this vision. Just as we are born into families, share our lives with others, and eventually drift apart, so too do stars. Their bonds may be invisible, their separations vast, but the rhythm is familiar: togetherness, divergence, remembrance. Even in the immense scales of the cosmos, the patterns echo our own. And when we look up and see constellations, we impose our own sense of kinship upon the stars. Orion's belt, the twins of Gemini, the hunters, the scorpions, the heroes of myth. We tie them together with lines of story, even when they are separated by unimaginable distances. Our minds crave connection, and the stars, whether or not they are truly bound, become families in our imagination. But behind the myths lies truth. Stars are not solitary jewels scattered at random. They are born in groups, shaped by their siblings, bound by gravity, and remembered by the elements they pass along. The universe is not a collection of lonely lights, but a community of suns, their lives interwoven across space and time. And so, when you gaze at the sky and see clusters, binaries, or constellations, you are not just looking at patterns of light. You are glimpsing family portraits, snapshots of relationships written in gravity and time. The stars are not only individual stories, they are chapters in a larger book, a cosmic album filled with countless connections. Not all stars are created equal. Though they share the same beginnings in clouds of gas and dust, their fates diverge depending on one simple but decisive detail: mass. Some gather so much material that they swell into titans, their size and brightness overwhelming. Others are born with only a fraction of that mass, glowing faintly, barely clinging to existence. In the universe, giants and dwarfs coexist, each with its own story, each shaping the cosmos in its own way. The giants are the most dramatic. Stars like Betelgeuse in Orion's shoulder, or Antares in the heart of the Scorpion. Their bodies swell so vast that if one were placed where our sun is, it would extend beyond the orbit of Mars, engulfing the inner planets. Their surfaces are cooler than our sun's, glowing red or orange rather than yellow, but their sheer size makes them luminous, visible across great stretches of space. They are living beacons, their light reaching us as a reminder of their enormity. Giants live loudly, but not for long. Their immense mass means their fuel burns quickly, hydrogen consumed at a furious pace. The balance between gravity and fusion still holds, but it is a balance constantly straining, always on the edge of change. These stars expand and contract in cycles, pulsing slowly, their brightness shifting as if they are breathing. To look at them is to see time sped up, stellar lives unfolding in centuries rather than billions of years. And then there are the dwarfs, the modest, quiet stars that make up the majority of the universe. Red dwarfs, faint and enduring, barely visible to the naked eye. Though they are small, their patience gives them lifespans far longer than any giant could dream of. Where giants roar and vanish in millions of years, dwarfs whisper their light across trillions. They may never blaze brilliantly, but they outlast nearly everything. Our sun, by comparison, is an in-between star, not small enough to last forever, not massive enough to collapse into glory. It is a main sequence star, steady and balanced, neither dwarf nor giant, but something in between. Its size allows for stability, its heat allows for life, and its story is one of moderation. Giants and dwarfs may define the extremes, but stars like ours shape the middle, holding the quiet balance of the cosmos. Among dwarfs there are other kinds too. White dwarfs, the remnants of once active stars glowing faintly as they cool over billions of years. These are not living stars anymore, but corpses, the leftover hearts of suns that once shone like ours. They are tiny compared to their former selves, no larger than Earth, yet so dense that a spoonful of their matter would weigh tons. They are dwarfs not in weakness, but in compression. Stars folded in upon themselves until only their cores remain. The contrast between giants and dwarfs is striking. One overwhelms with size, visible across light years, burning furiously before collapsing into ruin. The other endures in obscurity unnoticed, glowing softly for eons, and yet both are vital. Giants create the heavy elements that seed new stars and planets, while dwarfs provide constancy, a quiet rhythm of light that steadies galaxies. The universe needs both the roaring brilliance of giants and the patient whispers of dwarfs. If you could drift near a red giant, you would see its surface bubbling like boiling water, vast convective currents lifting heat upward. Its outer layers are tenuous, spread thinly across its vast body, so that to descend into it would feel less like plunging into solid matter and more like sinking into a sea of fire. The scale alone would overwhelm, a horizon stretching across millions of kilometers, the light bathing you in endless crimson. To approach a red dwarf, by contrast, would be a quieter experience. The light would be dimmer, the glow faint, shadows long and soft. The star would feel more intimate, less overwhelming, its gravity weaker, its warmth gentler. Worlds orbiting such stars would huddle close, their skies painted red with an eternal twilight glow. Life, if it arose there, would live beneath a sun that never blazed, but never faltered either. Even white dwarfs, cold remnants though they are, have their own quiet majesty. To see one up close would be to confront density itself. Matter packed so tightly that the concept of solid and liquid loses meaning. They do not burn anymore, but they glow with the residual heat of their former selves, fading slowly into darkness over trillions of years. They are the final whispers of stars that once roared, their light a memory lingering long after the fire is gone. These extremes remind us of the diversity of the cosmos. Stars are not uniform, not interchangeable. They come in every scale, from giants that reshape galaxies to dwarfs that linger almost forever. Together they form a spectrum of existence, each type contributing in its own way. Giants seed the universe with heavy elements, white dwarfs tell the story of endings, and red dwarfs ensure that light will remain long after all else fades. The night sky is a gallery of these lives. Some of the brightest points you see are giants, luminous and proud. Most of the faintest, invisible to the naked eye, are dwarfs, steady and unremarkable but countless. What we see above us is only the surface of this diversity, the visible highlights of an album filled with contrasts. And in these contrasts lies meaning. Some lives blaze brilliantly but end quickly, their legacy carried by what they leave behind. Others endure quietly, changing little, but lasting long enough to see ages pass. Both paths are valid, both are necessary. The universe thrives not through uniformity but through variety, giants and dwarfs together shaping the story of stars. For ages a star seems eternal. Its light is steady, its rhythm unbroken, its presence as certain as the sunrise. But nothing in the universe lasts forever. Slowly, silently, a change begins deep inside. The hydrogen in the core, the fuel that has burned for millions or billions of years, is running low. What was once abundant is now scarce, and with that depletion, the delicate balance between gravity and fusion begins to falter. At first, there is no outward sign. To distant eyes, the star still shines as it always has. Its glow seems constant, its presence unchanged. But in the hidden depths of its core, the story has shifted. Hydrogen, once the star's great store of energy, has been fused into helium. The helium collects, piling up, inert and heavy, unable to fuse under the current conditions. The star's heart is filling with ash, the byproduct of its long, steady life. Gravity does not rest. With less fusion pushing outward, gravity presses harder, squeezing the core tighter, raising its temperature. The star responds. Hydrogen fusion continues, but now not at the centre. It shifts outward into a shell around the helium core. This new shell burns hotter, fiercer, feeding the star with a fresh burst of energy. And the outward layers respond by expanding. The transformation is dramatic. The star swells, its surface pushing outward far beyond its former size. A star like our Sun, once a steady yellow disk, grows into a red giant, its radius hundreds of times larger. Its light changes colour, softening into orange and crimson. Its surface cools, but its brilliance increases, the sheer scale of its size flooding space with radiance. What was once a modest star becomes a giant, visible across far greater distances. To stand near such a star would be to witness both beauty and destruction. Its swollen surface would loom vast in the sky, a horizon of red fire stretching unimaginably wide. But for any planets that once circled safely in its orbit, the change is catastrophic. Worlds that basked in warmth now find themselves scorched, engulfed, or cast into unstable paths. The delicate balance that once nurtured life is gone, replaced by the chaos of transformation. Inside, the core continues to change. Pressed tighter by gravity, the temperature climbs high enough for helium to ignite. The star begins fusing helium into carbon and oxygen, releasing new energy, holding collapse at bay. But this stage, unlike the long calm of hydrogen fusion, is brief. Helium burns quickly, consumed in only millions of years compared to the billions that hydrogen once provided. The star's adulthood is fleeting, its stability fragile. The changes ripple outward. The star pulses, its outer layers expanding and contracting, throwing off shells of gas that drift into space. Sometimes the ejected matter glows, forming delicate nebulae shaped like rings, halos, or butterfly wings. These glowing shells are the star's breath, its outer layers cast away as it struggles to maintain balance. To us, they appear as hauntingly beautiful shapes, fragile and luminous, reminders that even in death stars create beauty. The fate of the star depends on its size. For a star like our Sun, the red giant phase is its last act of grandeur. It will shed its outer layers gently, leaving behind a white dwarf, a dense, glowing ember that slowly cools into darkness. For larger stars, the changes lead to something more violent. Their cores, too massive to stop collapsing, will push beyond helium fusion into heavier and heavier elements, building layers like the rings of an onion. Each stage burns faster than the last, till the core is filled with iron, an element that cannot release energy through fusion. At that moment, the balance truly ends, and the star's fate turns catastrophic. But even before that final collapse, the transformation of a changing star is profound. It is a reminder that even the brightest and most constant lights in the sky are not eternal. They grow, they change, they falter. The giants we see, glowing red in the constellations, are stars in the throes of this transformation, no longer steady but shifting, swelling, preparing for the next act of their lives. For us on Earth, the thought is both unsettling and awe-inspiring. Our Sun too will one day change. Billions of years from now, its core will exhaust its hydrogen, and it will swell into a red giant. Its light will redden, its size will engulf Mercury, Venus, and perhaps even Earth. The planet we call home will be scorched, its oceans boiled away, its surface melted. the steady glow we take for granted will become a firestorm. But this too is part of the natural rhythm of stars. What seems eternal is only a chapter, and every chapter must end. The transformation of stars is not a tragedy alone. It is also the universe's way of creating. The shells of gas cast off by dying stars enrich space with heavy elements. Carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, the stuff of life, are scattered across the galaxy in these final breaths. What was once locked inside the star is released, to be gathered again into new clouds, new stars, new worlds. The death of one star becomes the birth of another. When we see a red giant in the sky, when we gaze upon a nebula glowing faintly in the night, we are witnessing these changes in action. They are reminders that nothing is still, that even the stars are in motion, shifting from one state to another, creating and destroying in equal measure. The universe is not static, but alive, restless, always changing. And so, when stars begin to change, their story enters its most dramatic phase. What was once calm becomes turbulent. What was once stable becomes fragile. And yet, in this transformation, beauty emerges. Rings of gas, glowing nebulae, radiant giants filling the night. Even endings in the cosmos carry creation within them. For stars like our sun, the end does not arrive in violence. There's no sudden blast, no tearing apart of space with fire. Instead, their death comes quietly, like a candle flickering lower and lower until its flame finally fades. The story of small stars is not one of fury but of surrender, a gentle giving back of their light, until nothing remains but silence and memory. As the hydrogen in the core runs dry, the star has already swelled into a red giant. Its outer layers balloon outward, its surface cools, its light softens into crimson. Inside, helium burns briefly, creating carbon and oxygen, but that fuel too is limited. When it is gone, there is nothing more the star can do. Fusion, the very engine that powered its existence, ceases. The outward push that balanced gravity disappears, and the star begins to collapse inward once more. But before it ends, the star exhales. Its swollen outer layers, tenuous and fragile, drift away into space, peeled back by the star's own winds. These shells of gas expand outward, illuminated by the fading core, forming planetary nebulae, luminous rings, halos and clouds that glow softly in the darkness. The name planetary is a misnomer, a relic of early astronomers who mistook their shapes for planets. In truth, they are the star's final size, its atmosphere scattered into the cosmos, glowing faintly like stained glass against the night. The shapes they take are delicate and haunting. Some form near-perfect rings, glowing in shades of green or blue. Others stretch into butterfly-like wings, symmetrical and strange. Still others ripple outward in concentric shells like echoes of a fading sound. Each nebula is unique, a final portrait of the star that created it, painted in light and gas across the cosmos. And though they are beautiful, they are temporary. In tens of thousands of years, a blink in cosmic time, they will fade, their gas scattered into space, their glow extinguished. At the centre of these nebulae remains the star's core, now stripped bare. It has shrunk into a white dwarf, a body no larger than Earth but far heavier. Its matter is crushed so tightly that a teaspoon of it would weigh tons. It no longer burns with fusion, no longer creates light through fire. Instead, it glows faintly with residual heat, the afterglow of billions of years of burning. The white dwarf shines on for billions more years, cooling slowly, gradually dimming. Its light is not the fierce blaze of a living star, but the quiet ember of one that has finished its work. In time it will fade completely, becoming a black dwarf, a dark, cold remnant adrift in space. No one has yet seen a black dwarf. The universe is not old enough for any to exist. But in the deep future they will populate the galaxy, the husks of stars that once shone brightly, now silent and cold. It may sound like an ending without grandeur, but it is not without meaning. In their quiet deaths, small stars release their gifts. The gas they shed enriches space with carbon, oxygen and nitrogen, the ingredients of life. The atoms in your body, the oxygen in your lungs, the calcium in your bones, were all created inside stars that died this way. Their ending seeded the clouds that would one day form planets, oceans, forests, and living beings. Without the gentle deaths of small stars, there would be no us. If you could stand at a distance and watch such a death unfold, it would not look like tragedy. It would look like transformation. You would see the red giant expand, shimmering softly in the dark. You would see its atmosphere drift outward, glowing in strange and delicate colours. And at its centre, a tiny point of brilliant white, the dwarf, glowing against the fading halo of gas. Over time, the nebula would thin, vanish, leaving only the dwarf, a solitary ember glowing alone in the void. There is a kind of poetry in such an end. Not every story must close with violence. Not every light must vanish in an instant. Some fade slowly, gracefully, their departure lingering, their gifts left behind for what comes after. The quiet deaths of small stars are as essential to the universe as the violent explosions of their larger cousins. Together they form the rhythm of creation and destruction that shapes the cosmos. And for us, their legacy is personal. The sun itself will one day follow this path. Billions of years from now it will swell into a red giant, its light reddening its size, engulfing the inner planets. Earth will be scorched, perhaps swallowed. Then, when its fuel is gone, it too will shed its outer layers, forming a glowing nebula in the sky, its atmosphere drifting into space. At its centre, a white dwarf will remain, small, dense, glowing faintly in the dark. That will be the final chapter of the sun's story, the quiet end of the star that gave us life. When you look at the sky and see faint nebulae glowing softly through telescopes, you're seeing the future of our sun, played out in other systems. You're witnessing what will one day happen here, a preview of endings yet to come. And though it may sound melancholy, it is also a reminder. Endings are beginnings. The atoms that once formed those stars now drift freely, waiting to be gathered into new clouds, new stars, new worlds. In the death of small stars lies the promise of renewal. Their light may fade, their bodies may shrink, but their essence continues, scattered through the galaxy, woven into new forms. The universe does not waste, it recycles. Every death enriches the fabric of creation, ensuring that life, light and story go on. The giants of the universe do not die quietly. Where smaller stars fade like candles, massive stars end in fire, sudden, violent, and spectacular. Their lives, though short, burn so fiercely that their deaths echo across the galaxy. To witness such an ending is to see the raw power of the cosmos unleashed in a single instant. Inside these stars, the story builds quickly. Their great mass means their cores burn furiously, consuming hydrogen in only a few million years. Helium follows, then carbon, oxygen, neon, silicon. Each new stage fusing faster than the one before. The star becomes layered like an onion, shells of fusion stacked around its core, each one producing heavier and heavier elements, until finally iron is reached. Iron is different. Unlike lighter elements, fusing iron does not release energy. Instead, it consumes it. And so, when the core fills with iron, the star's engine stalls. Fusion stops. The outward push that held gravity at bay vanishes in an instant. Gravity, relentless and patient, finally wins. The core collapses, falling inward at a quarter of the speed of light. Atoms are crushed. Protons and electrons merge into neutrons, and the core shrinks from the size of a star to something no larger than a city. The collapse happens in less than a second. And then, just as suddenly it stops, the infalling layers crash into the hardened core and rebound outward. The result is a shockwave, a detonation so powerful that it tears the star apart. In a single moment, the star explodes in a supernova, shining brighter than entire galaxies. If you could watch from a safe distance, you would see the star flare suddenly, its brilliance overwhelming the night. For days, weeks, or months, the explosion outshines everything around it. A single supernova can release more energy than our sun will emit in its entire lifetime. And then, slowly, the light fades, leaving behind only the shattered remnants of what was once a giant. But the destruction is also creation. In the fury of the explosion, elements heavier than iron are forged: gold, uranium, platinum. These scatter into space, enriching the galaxy with new matter. The atoms in jewellery and technology, even in your own blood, were created in the heart of such explosions. Without the violent ends of massive stars, the universe would lack its richness. The remnants of these explosions tell their own stories. Sometimes the core, crushed into neutrons, survives as a neutron star, a body so dense that a teaspoon of its matter outweighs mountains. Spinning rapidly, some neutron stars emit beams of radiation, sweeping through space like cosmic lighthouses. To distant eyes they appear as pulsars, blinking steadily, their rhythm more precise than any clock. In other cases the collapse goes further. The core's mass is so great that not even neutrons can withstand gravity. Space folds inward, light itself cannot escape, and a black hole is born. Invisible, yet powerful, black holes consume matter and light, reshaping their surroundings with gravity so strong it bends the fabric of space-time. What was once a brilliant star becomes a silent void, a ghost in the cosmos. And yet, even here, there is beauty. Supernova remnants spread outward, glowing clouds of gas shaped into filaments and arcs, lit by the shock waves of the explosion. The Crab Nebula, the Veil Nebula, Cassiopeia, A, all are the graves of massive stars, their remains painted across the sky in luminous colour. To us they appear as fragile, almost delicate structures, but behind their beauty lies unimaginable violence. The violent deaths of massive stars are rare. In a galaxy of hundreds of billions of stars, only a handful explode in any given century. Yet their importance is beyond measure. They seed the universe with heavy elements, shape galaxies with their shock waves, and create the exotic remnants, neutron stars and black holes, that continue to influence their environments long after the light has faded. For civilizations like ours, a supernova nearby would be both awe-inspiring and dangerous. Its radiation could strip atmospheres, its particles could disrupt ecosystems. But from a safe distance, it is one of the most extraordinary sights the universe has to offer. A star ending its life not with a whisper, but with a roar heard across light years. There is a strange poetry in this contrast. The small stars die slowly, fading quietly into embers. The large ones burn fiercely, then vanish in sudden violence. Both paths are shaped by the same forces and fusion and gravity, but mass dictates the outcome. In this, the universe is both fair and merciless. Each star receives its fate not by choice, but by weight. And yet, these violent endings remind us that death is never just an ending in the cosmos. Every atom scattered by a supernova becomes part of something new. Clouds enriched with these elements collapse into new stars, new planets, new possibilities. From violence comes creation. From destruction comes renewal. The cycle continues, endlessly, shaping the story of the universe. When you look at the night sky, you are seeing stars in every stage of this cycle. some still in their calm childhoods, some swelling into giants, and others already gone, their light only just now reaching us. Somewhere out there tonight, a massive star may already be collapsing, its death cry racing across space, a flare that will one day brighten our skies, and when it does, we will be reminded again. The universe is not static. It is alive, restless, and full of endings that are also beginnings. The violent deaths of massive stars are not just catastrophes. They are the universe's way of writing its next chapter, scattering the ink of creation across the pages of space. When the light of a supernova fades and its remnants scatter into the galaxy, the story of that star is not over. The material it forged, the atoms it created in its furious life and violent death, continue on. They drift into the great clouds of gas and dust that sweep through space, mixing with hydrogen, blending into the raw material for new stars, new planets, and eventually new forms of life. The death of a star is also a gift, a passing on of matter, a bequeathing of possibility. Every breath you take, every cell in your body is proof of this inheritance. The oxygen you draw into your lungs was made in the heart of a massive star. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, the carbon woven into every living thing, all of it was created in stars long gone, scattered into space, gathered again into the clouds that formed our solar system. You're not separate from the stars. You are their continuation. You're stardust. This idea is not metaphor but fact. More than 90% of your body is made of elements heavier than hydrogen and helium, elements that could not exist without stars. Hydrogen was born in the Big Bang, helium in the early universe, but everything else, from the silicon in sand to the gold in rings, came from stars. The universe forged itself in fire, and you are one of its works. To stand under the night sky with this knowledge is to see it differently. The stars above are no longer just distant lights. They are family. You're made of the same matter as they are, crafted from the same processes, the same cycles of creation and destruction. When you gaze upward, you're not looking out at strangers. You're looking into a mirror. It is humbling to realize that the atoms in your hand, in your heart, in your mind, once burned in stars that shone billions of years ago. Those stars lived, burned, changed, and died, and in their endings, they created the pieces that would eventually assemble into you. The universe is not just around you, it is within you. The stardust connection stretches further still. The earth itself, every mountain, every ocean, every forest, is built from the remnants of stars. The soil where plants grow, the water that fills rivers, the oxygen that fills the air, all of it owes its existence to stellar alchemy. When you drink a glass of water, you are drinking the breath of ancient stars. When you touch the ground, you are feeling the remnants of supernovae. When you speak, the carbon in your words once burned in a star's heart. And the cycle does not end with us. The matter that makes you will one day return to the cosmos. Long after our sun has faded into a white dwarf, the atoms that were once part of Earth, once part of you, will drift outward to be gathered again into new stars, new worlds, new lives. You're not only stardust, you're part of a cycle billions of years old, a cycle that will continue long after memory itself is gone. Even cultures long before modern astronomy sensed this truth. Ancient myths often linked humans to the stars, speaking of creation from celestial fire, of gods placing souls among constellations. They saw the stars not as distant, but as connected, to fate, to life, to origin. Science has confirmed what poetry long suspected, that we are not separate from the heavens. We are the heavens condensed, walking, thinking, wondering. If you could watch the cycle unfold in time-lapse, sped up by millions of years, you would see clouds form and collapse, stars ignite and die, matter scatter and gather again, it would look like breathing, the universe inhaling and exhaling, creating and dissolving over and over again, and you would see that nothing is lost. Every atom remains, transformed, carried forward into the next chapter. The universe is not wasteful. It is endlessly recycling itself, endlessly reshaping. There is a quiet comfort in this. Death, in cosmic terms, is never an end. It is a passage. The stars that burned long ago still live on in you. And one day, the matter that makes you will live on in something else. Perhaps in another world, circling another star, life will rise again from the same atoms that now sit in your body. Perhaps those beings will look up at their night sky and wonder, as you do now, where they came from. When you see a nebula glowing softly in the telescope's eye, you're seeing this cycle in progress. You're seeing the ashes of old stars spread wide, glowing with the energy of new beginnings. You're seeing the place where stardust is waiting, ready to gather again into suns and worlds. You are, in a sense, looking at your own origins and your own future. To know that we are stardust is to see life differently. It is to understand that our existence is not small, not separate, not accidental. It is to know that we are woven into the universe, as much a part of it as the galaxies and nebulae, as inevitable as the rise and fall of stars. The same forces that shaped them shaped us. The same matter that burned in them burns in us still. So the next time you breathe deeply beneath the stars, remember, you are returning to them what they once gave you. You are completing the circle, and in that moment the boundary between you and the cosmos dissolves. You're not merely under the stars, you're of them. When a massive star dies in fire, it does not always vanish completely. Sometimes, what remains is stranger than the star itself, an object so dense, so alien, that it defies ordinary imagination. These remnants are the ghosts of stars, the shadows left behind after their violent ends, and among them, none are more haunting than neutron stars. A neutron star is born in collapse. When the core of a massive star implodes, gravity crushes protons and electrons together, merging them into neutrons. The atoms themselves cease to exist in their familiar form. Instead, matter is compressed into a state so dense that the human mind struggles to comprehend it. A single teaspoon of neutron star material would outweigh mountains. The star that once stretched millions of kilometers across has been reduced to a sphere no larger than a city, yet still holding more mass than our sun. What results is an object unlike anything else in the universe, small, invisible to the naked eye, yet unimaginably powerful. Its gravity is immense, its surface a place where physics bends and warps. To stand near one, if such a thing were possible, would be to feel reality itself pulled taut, every atom of your body straining toward collapse. The neutron star is not just dense, it is absolute compression, the ghost of a giant star folded into itself. And yet, these ghosts do not always remain silent. Some spin rapidly, completing hundreds of rotations every second. As they turn, they emit beams of radiation from their magnetic poles, sweeping through space like cosmic lighthouses. To distant observers, these appear as pulses, blinking steadily, their rhythm precise and unwavering. Their signals reach us across light years, ticking like clocks, reminders that even in death stars can still speak. The precision of pulsars is astonishing. Their pulses are so regular that they rival atomic clocks on Earth. Some astronomers even propose using them as beacons for navigation through the galaxy. Natural GPS signals broadcast by the ghosts of stars. In their silence, they have become guides, their steady flashes a way of mapping the vastness of space. But not all neutron stars are calm. Some collide, their dense bodies crashing into one another with such violence that space itself ripples. The gravitational waves from such collisions travel across the universe, stretching and compressing the very fabric of reality. On Earth, our instruments can now detect these faint ripples, proof that the ghosts of stars continue to shape the cosmos long after their fiery lives have ended. These collisions also create something else: gold, platinum, and other heavy elements, forged in the unimaginable heat and pressure of the crash. Every ring, every coin, every trace of gold on Earth owes its existence to such stellar ghosts colliding in the distant past. Even in their deaths, neutron stars give gifts, scattering riches into the universe. To imagine what it would be like to approach a neutron star is to step beyond human experience. The surface is a crust of matter crushed into forms unknown on Earth, harder than steel, smoother than glass, rippling with magnetic storms. Above it, gravity bends light into arcs, so that you could see the back of the star while standing on its front. Time itself flows differently in such gravity, seconds stretching, reality skewed. The ghost of the star warps everything around it, bending not only matter, but the fabric of space and time itself. And yet, for all their strangeness, neutron stars are not rare. There may be billions scattered across the galaxy, unseen in the darkness, silent until their beams sweep past us. Some were born from stars that died before Earth even formed, their ghosts still spinning quietly while civilizations rose and fell beneath other suns. The universe is haunted, not by spirits, but by these dense remnants, reminders that even when stars die, they do not entirely disappear. They are also warnings. Neutron stars show us the extremes of matter, the edges of possibility. They remind us that gravity, patient and relentless, can push matter beyond all familiarity. What begins as a blazing, radiant star can end as a city-sized ghost, small and silent but heavier than worlds. Life, light and warmth may vanish, but the core remains, compressed into eternity. When we look at pulsars, their light reaching us in steady beats, we are listening to the echoes of lives long gone. Their signals are not voices, but they are memories, the remnants of stars telling us their story, long after the flames have died. The ghosts of stars do not fade easily. They linger, steady, patient, marking the passage of time with every pulse. And somewhere far from our sight, two such ghosts may already be circling one another, spiralling closer, preparing for the moment when they will collide. When they do, the universe will tremble. And in that trembling, new elements will be born, new matter scattered, new stories written into the cosmos. Even in death, stars continue to create. So the next time you see a nebula glowing softly, or a point of light blinking in the telescope's eye, remember, the universe is filled with ghosts. They are not malevolent, not sorrowful, but reminders of transformation. Every end leaves a trace. Every star, no matter how violent its death, continues in some form, as dust, as nebula, as neutron star. The cosmos does not forget. It carries its memories in the remnants of light, the ghosts of stars. Not every ghost of a star is content to linger as a neutron star, spinning silently in the dark. For the most massive stars, even that is not enough. Their collapse is so complete, their weight so overwhelming, that not even neutrons can withstand the pressure. The core shrinks past every limit, folding deeper and deeper until light itself can no longer escape. What remains is a black hole, the hungriest monster the universe has ever known. A black hole is not an object in the ordinary sense. It is not a star, not a planet, not even matter in the way we understand it. It is a region of space where gravity has grown absolute, where the fabric of reality bends inward with such intensity that escape becomes impossible. Around it lies the event horizon, the invisible boundary that marks the point of no return. Cross that line, and nothing, not light, not time, not even information itself, can make its way back out. To imagine this is to stand at the edge of comprehension. A star that once blazed across the heavens has now vanished into shadow, its mass compressed into a singularity, a point with no size and infinite density. And yet, though it hides itself from sight, its presence is undeniable. Its gravity reaches out, shaping everything around it, pulling matter into orbits, distorting light into arcs, bending time itself. Black holes are not quiet monsters. When gas and dust spiral toward them, drawn in by their irresistible pull, they heat to unimaginable temperatures, releasing torrents of energy. Some black holes shine not with their own light, but with the fury of the matter they consume. Disks of hot gas whirl around them, glowing fiercely before vanishing beyond the event horizon. In some cases, jets of radiation erupt from their poles, blasting outward across thousands of light years, lances of energy brighter than galaxies. These monsters do not merely consume, they reshape their surroundings, dominating entire regions of space. Yet despite their hunger, black holes are not endless destroyers. They are also sculptors of galaxies. At the centres of nearly all galaxies, including our own Milky Way, lies a supermassive black hole, millions or billions of times the mass of the Sun. These giants anchor their galaxies, their gravity binding stars into spirals, shaping the vast cosmic cities we see across the night sky. Without them, galaxies might never have formed as they did. The monsters are also guardians, keeping order through their immense pull. If you were to drift toward a black hole, the experience would be surreal. From a distance, it might appear as a perfect void, a dark circle against the field of stars. Around it, light would bend, forming rings and arcs, an effect called gravitational lensing. The stars behind it would smear into strange patterns, as though the universe itself had been warped into a painting. Draw closer, and time itself would begin to change. To an observer far away, your approach would appear to slow, your movement stretching into eternity. From your own perspective, however, you would fall quickly, past the horizon, into silence. What lies beyond is unknown. The laws of physics, as we understand them, break down at the singularity. It is a place where our knowledge falters, where mystery reigns. Despite this, black holes are not rare. The galaxy is littered with them, born from stars long gone, their presence betrayed only by the way they tug at nearby objects. Some wander alone, invisible, silent hunters adrift in space. Others lie at the hearts of galaxies, shaping the destinies of billions of stars. They are everywhere and nowhere, seen only by their influence, known only by their gravity. For centuries, the idea of such monsters seemed impossible. How could something exist that even light could not escape? And yet, the universe is stranger than our imagination. Today, we not only believe in black holes, we have seen them. In 2019, astronomers captured the first image of a black hole's shadow, a glowing ring of gas surrounding darkness, proof of what theory had long predicted. It was not merely a scientific achievement, it was a glimpse into the abyss, a photograph of the universe's most secret hunger. But black holes are not only destroyers. Paradoxically, they may also be sources of creation. Their collisions send ripples across the fabric of space-time, gravitational waves that we can now detect on Earth. Their jets may stir galaxies, triggering new waves of star formation. Even their existence at the centres of galaxies may have allowed planets, life, and civilizations to emerge. Monsters they may be, but their role in the cosmic story is indispensable. To think of a star's life ending this way is to marvel at transformation. What was once a radiant burning giant becomes something silent, invisible, eternal. The light is gone, but the influence remains, a gravity so strong it bends the universe itself. It is a reminder that endings in the cosmos are never simple. Even destruction shapes what comes after. When you look at the night sky, you will not see them. They are hidden, cloaked in their own darkness. And yet, somewhere out there, a black hole is waiting, the ghost of a star that once blazed like a sun. Its hunger is endless, its silence complete, its mystery profound. The universe is full of light, but it is also full of these shadows, reminders that even the brightest fires can collapse into darkness. And in that darkness, perhaps, lies the greatest secret of all. Not all stars blaze, not all ignite with the full fire of fusion. Some, born in the same cradles as their brighter siblings, never gather quite enough mass to cross the threshold into true starlight. They hover on the boundary between planets and stars, too heavy to be called one, too faint to be called the other. These are the brown dwarfs, the quiet companions of the cosmos, lurking in the shadows, often unseen, but countless and enduring. A brown dwarf begins like any star. It forms in a nebula, collapsing under gravity, gathering matter into a dense core. Heat rises, pressure builds, and for a moment it seems the star might ignite. But if the mass is too low, less than about 8% of the sun's, the core never grows hot enough to sustain hydrogen fusion. The flame never truly catches. Instead, the object settles into a dim half-life, glowing faintly from the heat of its collapse, but never shining with the steady fire of a true star. To our eyes, they are nearly invisible. Too faint to be seen without powerful instruments, they drift quietly between stars, radiating in infrared rather than visible light. For billions of years, astronomers suspected their existence. But only in recent decades have we begun to detect them, hidden in the dark like ghosts. Now we know, the galaxy is filled with them, perhaps as numerous as the stars themselves. Brown dwarfs are often called failed stars, but the name is misleading. Failure implies disappointment, a path not taken. In truth, they are their own category, steady, enduring, mysterious. They do not blaze, but they do not die quickly either. Instead, they cool slowly, fading over time, their light dimming until they become almost indistinguishable from giant planets. They are not failures, they are survivors. Some brown dwarfs burn briefly, not hydrogen, but deuterium, a heavier form of hydrogen that fuses at lower temperatures. This gives them a short-lived warmth, a faint glow in their youth. But deuterium is scarce, and once it is gone, the brown dwarf settles into quiet, radiating only the residual heat of its formation. Over billions of years it cools, fading into obscurity. Yet even after eons it persists, still present, still drifting, silent but enduring. They come in many sizes, from objects just heavier than Jupiter to those nearly as massive as small stars. Some orbit larger stars as companions, their presence betrayed by the tug of their gravity. Others drift alone, wandering the galaxy without partners, solitary and unseen. These rogue brown dwarfs are particularly haunting. Bodies adrift in the dark, carrying their faint warmth across the void, unnoticed by all but the most sensitive instruments. If you could approach one, the experience would be surreal. From a distance, it might appear as a faint, dull glow, more like a smouldering coal than a blazing sun. Up close, its surface would be unlike any star you know. Cooler, stranger, with clouds of exotic compounds swirling in its atmosphere. Some brown dwarfs are cool enough to host clouds of iron droplets, silicates, even molten metal raining down like storms. Others glow faintly in shades of red or purple, their light eerie and subdued. It would not feel like standing beneath a sun. It would feel like wandering beneath a lantern at the edge of dying fire. Though they do not shape galaxies as giants do, brown dwarfs play their role in the cosmic story. They are reminders that not every life burns brightly. Some lives are quiet, hidden, and enduring. The galaxy needs these companions as much as it needs the luminous giants. They are part of the diversity of the universe, filling the spaces between, waiting in silence. Their existence also challenges our categories. Are they stars? Are they planets? They sit in between, blurring the line, reminding us that the universe rarely conforms to our neat definitions. In their ambiguity lies wonder. They are proof that the cosmos is more complex than simple labels, more varied than our imaginations first allowed. Perhaps most haunting of all is their number. For every bright star we see in the night sky, there may be another brown dwarf nearby, unseen. They could outnumber the visible stars, filling the galaxy with hidden companions. When you look up and see darkness between the points of light, remember that darkness is not empty. It may be filled with faint glowing bodies, drifting unseen, the quiet companions of brighter suns. Even our nearest neighbours may include them. Some of the closest systems to Earth are not brilliant stars, but brown dwarfs, invisible without infrared eyes. They remind us that the universe we perceive with our eyes is only a fragment of the whole, that the true richness of the cosmos extends beyond what we can easily see. Brown dwarfs will never explode in supernovae. They will never blaze across galaxies. Their stories lack the drama of giants or the brilliance of suns, but in their quiet way they endure. For billions, even trillions of years they will persist, cooling slowly, fading into the dark. When the last of the stars have burned out, when galaxies themselves grow cold, the brown dwarfs will still remain, embers scattered across the universe, the final lights of creation. They are perhaps the ultimate lesson in humility. Not every life must be brilliant to be meaningful. Not every story must end in fire to matter. Sometimes survival itself is enough. Sometimes the quiet companions are the ones who endure longest of all. When we step back far enough, stars no longer appear as individuals. Their identities blur, their lights merge, and together they reveal the greater structures that bind them. These are galaxies, vast sprawling cities of stars, billions upon billions gathered into spiralling arms, glowing disks, or dense elliptical swarms. If stars are the citizens of the cosmos, galaxies are their cities, the great communities where their lives unfold. Our own home, the Milky Way, is one such city. To us, it appears as a pale river of light stretching across the night sky, a faint band shimmering with countless points. But in truth, it is an immense spiral galaxy, home to hundreds of billions of stars. From within, we see only a narrow glimpse of its structure, but to imagine it from afar is to see a pinwheel of starlight, its arms curling outward, dust lanes weaving dark rivers through glowing stars. Each galaxy is different, yet each shares the same fundamental nature. Some are elegant spirals, their arms winding like whirlpools of light. Others are elliptical, great orbs of stars glowing in diffuse halos. Some are irregular, chaotic, their shapes twisted by collisions and tides. Together they form the tapestry of the universe, vast archipelagos of light scattered across the deep. Within these galaxies, stars live not in isolation but in community. They orbit together around a common centre, their paths guided by the gravity of the whole. Nebulae form in their spiral arms, birthing new generations of stars. Supernovae scatter heavy elements, enriching their neighbourhoods. Black holes anchor their centres, shaping the movements of billions. The galaxy is not just a collection of stars, it's an ecosystem, a great living structure where creation and destruction balance in endless cycles. Galaxies themselves are ancient. The Milky Way has existed for more than 13 billion years, nearly as long as the universe itself. In that time, it has grown by merging with smaller galaxies, absorbing their stars, folding them into its arms. Even now, it continues to evolve. The Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest neighbour, is slowly drifting closer. In 4 billion years, the two will collide, their stars swirling together into a new, larger galaxy. It will not be an explosion, but a dance, the merging of two great cities into one. To gaze at galaxies through telescopes is to see diversity on the grandest scale. The Whirlpool Galaxy, with its arms of blue and gold, The Sombrero Galaxy, its bright core wrapped in a vast ring of dust. The irregular Magellanic, clouds, small companions of our own Milky Way. Each is unique, each a community of billions, each holding stories beyond counting. From Earth, galaxies appear faint, often as smudges or streaks of light, and yet each one contains more stars than we can imagine, more than grains of sand on all the beaches of Earth. To look at a single galaxy is to confront numbers beyond comprehension, to realise how vast the universe truly is. Galaxies are also connected. They cluster together in groups, forming filaments that stretch across the cosmos. On the larger scales, they resemble webs, vast networks of light strung across the dark. The universe is not random but patterned, galaxies forming nodes in a cosmic lattice that extends in every direction. To see this structure is to realise that the universe itself has shape, that even its greatest expanses are ordered. And yet, within these immense structures, the life of a single star still matters. Each sun, each world, each breath of life is part of the whole. The galaxy is a city, but it is built from individuals. Its grandeur comes not from abstraction, but from the countless lights that together make its shape. To step back is to see the whole, but to step closer is to remember that each star has its own story, its own beginning and end. In this way, galaxies remind us of ourselves. Our cities too are made of individuals, lives unfolding in parallel, each unique, yet together forming something larger. The lights of homes and streets blur into a glow that defines the whole. Galaxies are cosmic reflections of this truth, cities of stars that mirror our own patterns on a scale beyond measure. To think of the Milky Way as our home galaxy is to feel both small and connected. We are one world, circling one star in one arm of a spiral that contains hundreds of billions. And beyond our galaxy lie trillions more, each one with its own suns, its own worlds, its own possibilities for life. The night sky is not merely filled with stars, it is filled with galaxies, each one a universe of its own. And so, when you step outside on a clear night and see the faint band of the Milky Way stretching across the sky, know that you are seeing the edge of your own city of stars. You're not standing outside of it, but within it, looking along its spiral arms, glimpsing the lights of your neighbours stretching into the distance. The galaxy is not a distant place. It is home. Galaxies remind us that scale is relative. To a single star, the galaxy is immense, unfathomable. To the universe, the galaxy is only one among trillions, and yet, for us, it is everything. The stage on which our story unfolds, the community to which we belong, the city whose lights stretch farther than we can ever see. The story of stars is not a straight line from birth to death. It is a circle, a rhythm, a cycle that repeats across billions of years. Nothing in the universe is wasted. Every ending becomes a beginning. Every collapse becomes the seed of new creation. To see the stars clearly is to understand that their lives are woven into an endless pattern, a cosmic heartbeat that never stops. It begins in the dark. Clouds of gas and dust gather, drawn together by gravity. Within these nebulae, stars are born, igniting with fire that will burn for ages. They shine, they nurture, they create. Around them, planets form, atmospheres grow, and sometimes life emerges. For billions of years, they shine steadily, holding balance between fusion and gravity, filling galaxies with light. Then comes change. For some, it is quiet. They swell into red giants, shedding their outer layers, leaving behind white dwarfs that glow faintly for eons. For others, it is violent. Their cores collapse, their bodies explode, scattering matter across the galaxy. Some become neutron stars, their pulses beating like drums. Others collapse into black holes, their hunger shaping the fabric of space. But in every case, what is released is not lost. The gas shed by red giants enriches the interstellar medium. The shock waves of supernova scatter heavy elements, carbon, oxygen, iron, gold, into the void. Even the faint winds of dying stars carry atoms outward, mixing with the galactic clouds. Over millions of years, these materials drift, gather, and form new nebulae. Out of the ashes of old stars, new stars are born. The cycle is slow, but steady. A star's death today may enrich a cloud that will not collapse into new suns for tens of millions of years. But eventually it will. The galaxy recycles itself endlessly, matter moving from one form to another, life and death balanced in an eternal rhythm. If you could watch the Milky Way time-lapse, sped up by millions of years, you would see stars flashing into existence, glowing, fading, exploding, scattering, and reforming. The galaxy would seem to breathe, inhaling clouds into suns, exhaling light and dust back into space. This cycle is not limited to stars alone. Planets too are part of it. Worlds destroyed by supernovae, shattered into fragments, contribute their elements to the next generation. Moons, comets, asteroids, all are recycled in time, their matter folded back into the fabric of galaxies. Nothing is wasted, nothing is truly lost. The universe reuses every fragment, every atom, every particle, weaving them into new forms again and again. Even life itself is part of this cycle. The atoms that form you once burned in stars, once drifted in nebulae, once were scattered by explosions. When your life ends, those atoms will continue folded back into Earth, carried into oceans, winds, soil, and perhaps, far into the future, scattered into space again. The universe is not only vast, it is deeply connected. Every life, every star, every moment is part of the same repeating rhythm. There is a quiet beauty in this. It means that endings are never absolute. When we speak of a star's death, we are not speaking of disappearance, but of transformation. When we see a nebula glowing with the remains of old stars, we are not seeing ruins, but beginnings. The cycle is endless, and in its continuity lies both comfort and wonder. Consider again the phrase, "We are stardust." It is not only that we were created by stars long ago, it is that we are part of an ongoing process. The matter in you today will be part of other lives, other worlds, other stars in the future. You're not the end of the story. You're a chapter in a book that is still being written. Astronomers sometimes call galaxies star factories, but that phrase does not capture the whole truth. Galaxies are not factories with a beginning and an end. They are ecosystems, recycling matter endlessly, balancing creation and destruction in equal measure. For every star that fades, another is born. For every explosion that tears apart, another collapse begins. The process is never still, never finished. It is alive, dynamic, eternal. And on the larger scales, this rhythm may shape the destiny of the universe itself. As galaxies grow older, as stars are born and die, as matter cycles again and again, the cosmos continues to evolve. What it will become in the far future we cannot know, but we do know this. The cycle will continue, as long as there is matter to collapse, as long as there is gravity to gather, as long as there are stars to shine. To lie beneath the night sky with this in mind is to feel both small and infinite. The light you see above you is part of this endless cycle. Some stars are young, just beginning their journey. Others are ancient, nearing their end. Some have already died, their light only now reaching us across the void. And you too are part of the same pattern. The atoms in your body are borrowed from the stars, and one day they will be returned, ready to take shape again. The universe does not end. It transforms, again and again, forever. The story of stars is a story of beginnings and endings, but also of silence. For all their brilliance, all their fire, all their beauty, stars are not eternal. Their light is borrowed, their fire finite. And yet, even as they fade, they leave behind whispers that echo across the universe. The final chapter of a star's life is not loud, not spectacular. It is quiet. It is a fading ember, a last glow in the dark, a reminder that even the brightest flames must one day grow still. For smaller stars, this whisper takes the form of a white dwarf, cooling slowly across billions of years. Once a blazing sun, it becomes no larger than Earth, glowing faintly with residual heat, its light dimming with every passing age. In time, it will become a black dwarf, an object that no longer shines, cold and dark, indistinguishable from the night around it. No supernova marks this end, no fireworks announce its passing, just silence, a whisper. For neutron stars, the whisper is stranger. Their pulses, once steady, eventually slow. The radio beams that once swept the cosmos grow faint, then vanish. What remains is a core of neutrons, dense, silent, frozen in time. The heartbeat stops, but the body remains, drifting through the void as a relic of something that once shook the galaxy with its birth. Even black holes, those hungry monsters, whisper in their way. For though they seem eternal, they too will fade. Slowly, imperceptibly, they evaporate through what physicists call Hawking radiation. Over unimaginable timescales, longer than the life of galaxies, they will lose their mass, shrink, and finally vanish in a faint burst of energy. Even the greatest monsters of the cosmos do not last forever. Their hunger ends, their silence comes, and beyond the lives of individual stars lies the fate of the universe itself. What happens when the last star burns its final fuel? What happens when the galaxies no longer blaze with light, when the nebulae no longer glow with creation? Astronomers call this the heat death, a time when the universe grows cold and dark, when energy is evenly spread, when no new stars can be born. It will not happen soon, not for trillions upon trillions of years, but if time is endless, so too must be endings. The night sky, once filled with countless points of light, will one day grow empty. And yet, this final whisper is not despair. It is not tragedy. It is the completion of a cycle. The stars lived. They shone. They created worlds, nurtured life, forged the atoms of our bodies. They gave meaning to the dark. Their fading does not erase that gift. It completes it. Without stars, there would be no galaxies, no planets, no us. Their lives were not wasted. Their whispers endure, in us, in every atom, in every breath. Look up at the night sky. The light you see is old. Some of those stars are already gone, their whispers still crossing space, still reaching us across distances so vast they defy imagination. You're listening to the past, hearing echoes of stories long finished, and yet in seeing them, you make them present again. The stars are not only out there, they are here, within you, carried in your blood and bones, etched into your very being. The final whisper of the stars is also a gift of perspective. It tells us that nothing, not even brilliance, lasts forever. But it also tells us that endings are not empty. They are transformations. They are beginnings in disguise. What stars leave behind becomes the seeds of new stars, new worlds, new lives. Their silence is not an erasure. It is a pause before the next chapter. And so the story of stars ends not with thunder but with stillness, not with fire but with quiet. Their light dims, their bodies cool, their presence lingers as a whisper in the dark, and in that whisper is everything: history, memory, creation, connection. It is the soft truth that the universe is always changing, always moving, always transforming, even when it seems still. When you lie beneath the night sky and let your eyes adjust to the dark, you're not only seeing stars, you are hearing whispers of lives long past, of fires long cooled, of journeys that began billions of years ago. You are part of that story. Your atoms were born in those whispers. Your life is one of their echoes. And when your time comes, you too will return to the cycle, your matter folded back into the endless rhythm of creation. The stars are not eternal, but their whispers endure, and so does the wonder they leave behind.